Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Whatever time you're watching this, as always, thanks for watching, comments. So I haven't done any videos on this channel for a while. I have another channel called Common Sense Fishing, where I've been putting a lot of my effort and time. But I believe that this channel is where we can have more important conversations. I love fishing. It's an integral part of my life. A lot of people love fishing. I try to give the best tips and tricks, show what lures, where I'm fishing, but life is so much more than just fishing. And I think it's important that we be able to discuss certain things. And I don't want to risk turning off half the fishing community or screwing up what I've already built over there. So I'm over here. I'm trying to put some effort and time into this channel. So please smash that subscribe and like. I've got a couple of topics I want to talk about today. And just going to talk about the state of affairs, my life, maybe your life, how we're all probably feeling right now, what the country's going through. There's just so much that's happened in the last few years. I don't know where to begin. And the title of the video, I feel like giving up, but I won't. I'm an ornery, obstinate, stubborn, hard headed, driven person, but with a lot of positive traits as well. And I do not give in or give up easily. If I think something's important, I'm going to do my best and give it my all. And I think it's really important to talk about where we're at as a country now. And we're going to start with the mainstream media, how one side in particular has refused at this point to even have a conversation with the other side, how one side in particular calls the other side Nazis, white supremacists, racists, bigots. They call names. They don't discuss. Hey, what's going on? They call names. They don't discuss ideas anymore, and it's gotten pretty stressful to run a business in California, to raise a family, to keep on the good fight, so to speak. And I think a lot of it, in my instance, has to do with inundated with the news, with politics, with what's going on. So is it time to unplug for a while, put the phone down, stop checking on Facebook, YouTube, the news, all this crap, and just live my life like we used to? But I think, though, that even though I want to do that, that is akin to like an ostrich. Yeah, exactly. I think it's akin to an ostrich burying its head in the sand, if you guys know what I mean. So you have to pick at what point are you going to stand and fight. And just like No Limit Off Road said in the comments, the middle class will be gone soon. They'll just be the haves, the have nots. Obviously, I'm trying to push me and my family into the haves. I'd rather be there and have it than not. But not the good old, if you can't beat them, join them saying. And right now, if you look at the news, what's happening is we're being lied to, we're being manipulated. Everything is about disinformation. People can't even agree on a set of facts anymore. And I think we all know what I'm talking about when I'm saying one side. Let's just bring it out there, because I'm not a Republican, I'm an independent. I honestly hated the two-party system. I always have. I feel that there shouldn't be any party affiliations. There should be zero parties, no political parties, no action committees, no PACs, no giant lobbying special interest groups. There should simply be candidates, what they stand for, what they believe in, their track record, history, and facts. And then people vote based on the kind of person that they are, the kind of history that they have, the kind of ideas that they put forth. And then when in office, do they execute on those ideas? Because right now it's just become a clown show. Congress has like a worse rating than like Ebola. Nobody likes Congress, but yet we keep voting for these people because it's the inner circle that votes. And then when the uneducated, uninformed get out and vote, they put people like AOC in, which just blows my mind. So there's like the need to educate and the need to discuss, but we need to do it civilly. So you got, like I said, you got the left. When a mass shooting happens, like the one on the NYC subway train, and people are discussing it, they won't even mention his race. They won't even mention it was a black guy. But yet, if a white guy shoots up a place, they're all over the fact that it was a white guy. They blame everything on guns and white supremacy. When at this point, there's probably 1,000 times more Black Panther, Black supremacists than there probably are white supremacists. Like they've been ground into dust. Nobody likes them. Nobody's pretty much a white supremacist anymore, right? We're all humans, we're all Americans, and this is the great melting pot. And I think that it's been pretty successful. But at this point, though, we're reaching a part where half of the entire country is literally brainwashed when they push Russia hoaxes, when they push Russia, 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 when they push false narratives, when things that they say and peddle are proven to be untrue at a later time, they don't even correct their statements. They'll go in and they'll either leave it alone or they'll stealth edit the articles and the things years or months later. And they refuse to talk about certain things. Let's just put it this way, too. When the left can't even define what a woman is, how then can you, because terminology is important. So in court, if there are protections under the law based on race, sex, and all that stuff, right? So a woman protected for this and that, but yet you can't define what a woman is. How can you then uphold any law that pertains or has the word woman in it if you can't even define what the word is meant? They have gone so far Looney Tunes. So I remember when gay marriage wasn't legal. I'm 40 years old. I've watched marijuana get legalized throughout most states. I've watched gay marriage get legalized throughout most states. I've watched the immigration debacle over the last 30, 40 years of constantly allowing mass migration, and then every 10, 20 years offering amnesty, and then, oh, we need to secure the border, we need to do this and that, and then again 10, 20 years offering more amnesty, and both sides passing it back and forth because Republicans like enough illegal immigrants to work in the bathrooms, to work the lower paid jobs, to work in the fields, but they don't want so many that it messes up their voting, right? The Democrats just want power and control. So they want illegal immigration so that the children of those immigrants will vote Democrat, and those immigrants themselves will vote Democrat if they get a chance to. And also, they support their programs. And also, in most Democrat controlled states, other than in federal elections, they're now allowing illegal immigrants to vote in school board decisions, in state and county elections. So it's crazy what's going on, and it's all coming from one side of the aisle. Now Republicans have their set of issues too, because remember I said I'm an independent. That's why I believe Americans should be able to put forth ideas and feelings and statements, and that we should be hashing it out and discussing and debating the points and facts of those, and not picking up sides. It's almost like classic gang warfare, the Bloods and the Crips, the Sudanos and Norteños, red, blue, whatever you want to have it, or the classic middle school dance room where everybody's a wallflower separated on the ends of the wall, boys over here, girls over there, and there's very few people actually dancing in the middle. It's just we're divided. And you guys know the saying, united we stand, divided we fall. And it's so asinine to me and crazy that the people that have the influence and power that they do don't wield it correctly. And you've got people on the left, and we're going to give you guys some examples. So you got people on the left who demand to defund the police, open borders, forgive all student debt, print money out of thin air, free this, free that, when it will crash the economy and destroy our lives. They overly want to tax everybody and everything. They want to push green. So we're talking green vehicles, green cars, electric this, electric that. California is banning the sale of gas cars by 2035. It's insane. Just like you can't get a gas lawnmower, it has to be a battery powered one. There's just so much insanity going on right now. I understand protecting the environment, but there's no room for debate. It is their way or the highway. Then you look at Republicans, literally going, the pendulum is just swinging wildly back and forth. So the left literally want to be able to abort babies up until the day they're born, and in some cases up to even a week after birth. Right? They're talking about killing live babies. This is not misinformation. Fact check, check it out. There are certain states that are passing certain laws that basically will not punish the mother or father if the infant dies within like 9 to 10 days or whatever it is, under any circumstances, even if they literally take the kid out and step on its head. I mean, that's sickening. And the Republicans, on one hand, want to ban all abortion all the way. They completely bring their religious ideology into ruling and governing the entire population, which do not all feel the way they do. And you've got Republicans on the right that won't admit to the when there is systemic racism and when there are actual problems. They just want to say, oh, if black people commit a disproportionate amount of the crime, it's because of they're raised with fatherless households, it's their culture, rap, it's drugs, it's this and that. When they fail to see the Republicans fail to see that just 60 years ago we had segregation. There were black people hanging from trees and burning crosses in front yards, and the KKK was super powerful then. Joe Biden himself was damn near a KKK member, eulogized Byrd, one of the grand wizards or grand whatevers of the KKK. It's so insane, right? And you have people alive to this day that remember not being able to use the same restroom as whites, not being able to use the same drinking fountain, and Irish were treated the same way. So don't think I'm not a Black Lives Matter supporter either. I think all lives matter. But you look at the fact that the right is also so entrenched on it's our way or the highway. There's just two mules butting heads, and us, the American people, are caught in the middle. We're all average Joes that just want to live our damn life. Some people lean a little more this way or a little more that way, but we all just want to have a good life. When the people who are in control with the media narrative, our colleges, our education system, the TV, the movie, the video games, they're all in control by the left. The right traditionally had some of government, the military industrial complex, and a lot of corporations and businesses, big money used to be on the right. Now that big money has shifted from factories and companies that produce things to technology. So that has shifted now to the left as well. So the left has literally all the power. They wield it like a club. They're just extremely dangerous. But again, on the right, one of their big problems is they don't understand where some of the not all of it, where some of their ire and complaints come from, and they're based in reality. Like I said, there are people alive today that remember not slavery, but they remember segregation. They were viciously called names and the N word and this and that. And fast forward, so that's happening in the 60s. So in the 60s and early 70s, mid 70s, the Black community was pretty strong. The Black community had primarily mother and father in the household, although there were still issues, segregation, Jim Crow, all this stuff, right? Which does not just disappear in 60 years. The fact that there are entire neighborhoods of Blacks and entire neighborhoods of white, of 150 to 200 years of Jim Crow and segregation. Now, all of a sudden, because you desegregate and you try to put some people here, there, some people there, here, that does not deal away with generations of issues, mistrust, anger. That my grandpa told me a story when he was beat by a white farmer called this or that. These people remember this stuff. So this is fresh wounds, right? So people say there's no systemic racism. Well, how come the fact that Brock, that white kid, got 6 months probation for raping a girl, black kid does it, he gets 5, 10 years in jail? North Carolina, a white kid raped 3 separate people and got 5 years of probation, no jail time. Had that been someone else, they would have gotten a lot worse punishment. The statistics in sentencing shows it. And also, again, I mean, this is a complicated subject, and I know I'm kind of bouncing all over, but follow is that in the 70s, the Black family was strong, even though it had issues. And with corrective measures and help and addressing these issues, they could have been brought up out of poverty and became really good part of society, the whole community mostly, right? But reasons why they fell off, the and not all of them, but proportionately, is that you have police predominantly in poor neighborhoods. So the crime is happening in rich neighborhoods and poor neighborhoods are happening everywhere, but the police go neighborhoods and inflict that. So while the rich kids are driving donuts in their Camaros, they're smoking pot, nobody's messing with them. But whenever someone's selling a joint in the hood, cops run up and they go mess with them, right? Hem them up, put them in jail. So some of the fatherless homes from the Black community, they're fatherless because we put their fathers in jail for crap like smoking pot and other things, right? But really, where it devolved is a proven fact, is Bush and Reagan in the 80s, and they even made a movie about this with Tom Cruise. We're going into South America, Mexico, and other places and bringing back cocaine and then turning it into crack cocaine or direct cocaine. And we're intentionally pushing it and selling it into predominantly Black communities to make money to fund CIA Black Ops. This is not a joke. It sounds like some tinfoil hat conspiracy shit. But when for almost 8 to 10 years straight, the CIA was drug smuggling drugs into poor neighborhoods to make dark money so that they could do things like try to do the Bay of Pigs, so that they could do things with Cuba, Russia, and so that they could fund Black operations, Black ops, military ops that were off the books. They needed to get that money off the books. They used it by pumping drugs into Black communities. So the 80s became the crack epidemic. And between 1970s, when you had all these fathers in the home, introduced the crack into their neighborhoods. Now by the 1990s, they have no fathers in their home. They're running wild. They're out on the streets shooting each other up, gang banging, and listening to rap music that came out right in the late 80s, early 90s. And their culture became poisoned, and not all of it, but part of it, in part because of what our own damn government was doing to them. So there are legit concerns on the left, right? We don't want to be dumping when we do mines and we do uh, certain things at coal plants and stuff like that. We don't want to be dumping waste into rivers. We don't want to be dumping shit into our environment. But at the same time, we can't go willy nilly over every little thing to try to save the environment and crash our economy. There's a balance, right? Both sides have points. We used to come together. We used to discuss these things. And if you look at politics over the last course of 50, 60 years, Democrats and Republicans were fairly close. And sometimes Democrats would vote across the aisle to support Republican things and vice versa. And we worked together as one unit. And since about the late 1990s or 1990s or so, stuff just started splitting and getting worse and worse and worse. And now you got it to the point where, like I said, so you watch Charlie Kirk, and Ben Shapiro and all these other people that say white privilege is a myth. Well, okay, here's the deal. In certain states and counties, things were ran differently the last 200 years. So there are some areas and states where it's pretty much normal, everybody's cool. Then you got some areas where, yeah, white privilege does exist. There's still a lot of racism. And then you can go to Black areas, they hate white people too. So in that particular area, they may have Black privilege, right? Where they can commit crimes, riot and loot and get in no trouble. When they go shoot up places or do things, we don't even mention their skin color. Hell, there'll be someone who's Black kills 10, 20 people, and they'll be on the loose. And the news, none of them they'll say it was a 5'5" man wearing an orange vest and a hard hat. They won't even mention his race if he was black. If it was white, be plastered all over the news. White man, blah blah blah, committed this, committed that. Be on the lookout. But if a black man does it, they don't even tell you what his skin color was. It is so crazy that we've come to this point, and the problem persists on both sides. Like I said, you've got the right that refuses to admit that technically, if you're not doing anything wrong, like smoking a joint, you probably shouldn't be messing with people. Sure, let two gay dudes get married, but that term slippery slope, there is a point where you've got to draw a line, because then it becomes from you legalize something like marijuana. Next thing you know, in California, we got heroin addicts shooting up in the streets, needles and poop in the streets everywhere. We have massive drug use, fentanyl overdoses, and they're approaching it the same way. I just let them do it. Just try to give them safe, clean needles, right? It's insane. And then on the other side, you've got them like jackboots in certain states for a seed or a piece of leaf. They'll put you in prison for 10 years. It's insane. It's crazy. And so this country, it just feels, as a father, I have 4 kids in the house still. And as a father, I just feel so defeated. As a husband, I still feel good. I'm doing great with my wife. We take care of each other. But as a father and as a business owner in the state of California, I just feel so defeated. I feel like the education system is damn near taking our ability away to raise our kids properly. It's got to be their way or the highway. I feel that the news organizations are driving us to insanity, pushing us to hate each other, pushing us to divide. And you watch shows like The View, MSNBC, Rachel Maddow. You watch um, CNN, all these guys on the left, they refuse to acknowledge reality. They lie through their teeth. Right now, at this current time, the right, the Republicans, are the most truthful, the most correct, and probably the best party to choose from. However, they've got a ton of their own problems. So you'll get someone that you love, that you think is great. Oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene's fighting for America, this and that. Oh, she this and that. And sure enough, within a year or so of her being in Congress, she's doing insider trading already. So like like um like like Dianne Feinstein and especially Nancy Pelosi, these senators go in normal Joes, and their salary as a senator is like 150,000 a year, which is pretty good. That's middle class, upper middle class, and they're doing pretty good. But yet they come out millionaires. I mean, millionaires. And most of us with a salary of 150,000 a year would not be lucky enough to create that kind of wealth and fortune, because they know when they're going to file something or do something that's going to hurt an industry that may either tank the stock or something that is going to raise the stock. So they'll sell their stocks before or buy stocks before and make a ton of money. And they're all doing it. Hey, bud, how's it going? Funk and CT. Glad to see you. And no, I haven't made the live stream Monday and Wednesday, but here we are. I'm going to make sure we get that up. I've been real busy with doing some stuff in the backyard and with work. If you have kids, if you have a family, if you country, even if you're single, if you care about Americans and each other, we've got to figure a way to stop the BS. We've got to figure out how to communicate, and we've got to learn to listen to each other. I mean, I honestly try to. When I hear the left and I hear their insane crap, I can actually understand. You're getting a circle. Oh man, sorry about that. Trying my best to give you guys good, good reception, and got my internet set up the best that it could be. I'm gonna probably try to put a relay downstairs that'll boost the signal because the modem's upstairs. But if you care about tree, if you care about people, uh, just what you can do is little things. Just try to have a conversation with people. I appreciate it. Thanks. Just try to talk to people when you get a chance. Don't fight. Don't think that you're right, that they're wrong. But for example, when AOC talks the lunacy about the Green New Deal, there's some small shreds of actual truth in there. There's some small things that we're doing as a country that are not good for our environment, and there's some improvements that we could do. But should we do what she's saying? No. And then on the other hand, do we just roll back regulations, let companies dump things into our river systems, run pipelines under Native American land when they don't want it? See, like that's another thing. I'm Native American. This whole entire country was belonged to Native Americans, and it shouldn't be given back, but there should be some respect to all the treaties we've broken, all the lives we've took, all the lies that we've done as Americans to the indigenous people of this country. At the least, we shouldn't be we shove them onto reservations and give them just enough to be poor and manage to get by. And then what happens is with their casinos and their stuff like that, the rich elders get rich and make a lot of money and drive fancy cars and have all these benefits, while the majority of their community just really has a tough time. Reservations are not a good place for a lot of Native Americans. However, they have their little reservation, their little piece of land, and America wants to go and say, we're going to run a damn pipeline in your reservation, whether you like it or not. Go around the damn reservation. I'm sorry it's going to cost you extra money and time, but at least respect the Native Americans, right? And then doesn't make sense to run a pipeline under a river or a lake. Over one maybe, through a river maybe, if you're like super safe with the piping and you make super like safety features, pressure switches, leak guards before and after the river, so you don't mess anything up. But a lake, no, should not be running pipe gas or oil pipelines like that. Run them around, divert them. There's enough land and property, you can figure it out. So like the Keystone pipeline, I'm all for it, right? We need to be energy efficient, but at the same time, we need to be cognizant of whose land we're doing it to, you know? So like with the DAPL no pipeline, that's Native American land. Shouldn't have been trying to push it on them. There's always a middle road, or at least there's a discussion that can be had if we're respectful with each other. Yes, we do need more pay. The cost of living is insane. Inflation is going up. However, that's not the true answer because everything will just keep going up. You have to address the root of the problem. So why are things so expensive? Why uh, are things out of control right now? And how do we solve that? So instead of just throwing gasoline on the fire by giving us more money, then companies need to charge more to pay their employees more because their costs in food prices, gas prices. So like if you're a restaurant, your labor, let's just say it hasn't increased, but your food costs have increased, your rent is increased, your utilities have increased, your water bills increased, your gas bills increased, you're hitting hit if you're in California and other places by sanctions or like issues regarding, you know, pollution or other stupid nuances and things that they roadblocks that they put in your way as a business to not succeed. So you have all these issues. So now if the company has to pay their employees more, now they've got to raise their prices, and that's just a vicious cycle. So then now the food goes back up, and now because the food's gone back up, other things go up, and it's just a vicious circle. You have to address the root causes. Why things are so expensive? We got to stop printing money like it's toilet paper. Our money is a fiat currency. It's called the petrodollar because it's supposed to be backed by oil, because all oil is supposed to be sold via the dollar, which is horrible because a lot of the oil is controlled by communist countries. Venezuela, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Russia, all these other countries that have big oil reserves that we're buying oil from, and they don't care squat about the dollar, right? So we as a country just turn around and print more and more money, and the supply and demand, the more money you print, then the less value it has. That's one problem. Number two is our national debt is out of control. So we need to stop spending so much. We need to curb our enthusiasm, so to speak. So we had programs where we were sending billions, if not millions, if not billions of dollars to places like Pakistani for gender study programs. We build bridges to nowhere. We study the effect of shampoo sexually on rodents or some stupid shit. We have so many dumbass things that we're doing that we shouldn't be doing, and so much money we're giving to other countries that we shouldn't be giving, that we can, the pork, we got to cut it back. And so needless spending needs to be curbed, money printing needs to be curbed, and then a little bit of allowance and freedom needs to be had. So if we want to go green and we want to get off gas, that's great. However, lithium mines are horrible. Lithium mines that we need to produce the batteries in order to store our power via solar, wind, water, and other green sources are huge. They have a huge impact carbon wise and otherwise on our planet. And then here's the thing, we have this nice pristine America. We don't want no lithium mines here, because if you guys seen what a lithium mine looked like, you'd puke in your freaking mouth and you wouldn't want an electric shit anymore. You'd say, screw everything electric. This is disgusting that we're doing this to America. So what do? We go to Africa, we go to China, we go to somewhere else, and we fund a big ass lithium mine there. So we destroy that country's economy, or not economy, but uh, ecosystem. And so scientifically, we need to have a clean approach to energy production. So we do, in my opinion, need to drill for more gas or oil, fracking. We need to allow that while we transition to better energy. And in my opinion, that means upgrading our infrastructure, our wiring, our power poles, our power lines, our underwater and our underground grid, fortifying and replacing things that are melting and breaking that's old. And then also stepping up our game with safe nuclear energy like thorium nuclear power and thorium salt reactors. Look those up. The other thing too is we have places like Northern California and Central California are sending all our damn water to Los Angeles because for some stupid ass reasons, millions upon millions of idiots decided, let's move to a desert where there's no water because we like it there, because the weather's good and all the rich Hollywood elites are there. So let's all go there. So what does LA do? There's not enough rain to supply LA's water. There's not enough groundwater to supply LA's water. And there's not enough snowpack in the mountains. There's not enough water, period, to supply LA. So what does LA do? They steal all of Northern California and Central California's water. And they did it illegally. They went up in the early 1900s to Northern California and swindled the farmers and landowners into purchasing the water rights for lifetime, and just royally put the giant dildo up Northern California and Central California's asshole. Like, people shouldn't flock to the middle of the desert and then expect people 1,000 miles or 400 miles away to pay for their stupidity. Like, why don't, here's an idea, LA. Why don't you build a damn desalination plant? All right, Israel has them. A bunch of the places around the world have them. Why don't we figure out how to desalinate the ocean water, and then instead of putting the brine back into the ocean where we kill the reef and we kill the animals, why don't we turn that into some form of edible salt or other things, a base to go against acids, right? Not for fertilizer, but you have a base and an acid. Salt is like a base, and an acid is an acid, right? And they counteract each other. So pH level things, adjusting things. There's stuff that you can make with the salt instead of dumping the brine water back in. Now, I'm not an engineer or a scientist. I don't have all the answers, but I believe that there are so many other ways that we can handle our problems, and so many other solutions than just doing like an ostrich and putting our head in the sand. So each side thinks they know it all, thinks they have all the answers. There's no communication anymore. And thanks to especially people on the left, they ban anyone they don't like. You say something that offends them, they ban you. If I were to say right now that it's odd that Joe Biden got so many votes, and then I point out the story from the Times magazine that said how they fortified the election, And I'm not saying it's rigged or whatever, but you get what I'm saying. And if I even discuss that, I get a strike on my channel. I'm potentially to get removed. They silence and they castrate basically socially the people they disagree with. So Twitter kicks off people like Trump, Milo Yiannopoulos, Alex Jones, but those are like the loud people, right? There's so many normal folks who have an opinion who can't share it because Twitter will censor or block them. Hunter Biden's laptop. X amount of percent of Democrats, if they knew about that, they wouldn't have voted for Biden. So, in a sense, they really affected the election by what they did with their control of media, the narrative, news, information, and facts. And it's sickening. So if I do get this video striked, I'm going to fight it 100% because not one time have I declared that there was any illegal happenings or that anything was not that anything is not right. I'm just saying that the system is set up to favor one side over the other, and that's obvious right now. You should be able to see it plain as day. But one side just swears up and down everything's fine, they're not doing nothing wrong, and it's asinine, it's insane. And here I am in California struggling to get by, struggling to survive. I give it my all, but the taxes, the rules, the damn red tape here is just so insane. I feel like giving up. I feel like selling my house because I have over $250,000, almost 300,000 in equity, and just booking it out of here. I'm gonna sell my boat, I'm gonna sell my house, sell everything I got, and just go be an ostrich, go bury my head in the sand and live the a happy normal life somewhere where I'm not so stressed out and I'm not so worried. But I care about my children, I care about America, I care about the people here, and I want to see some positive change. So I have the duty and I feel the urge to share my opinions and to try to spread news. This channel is really small, hasn't gone anywhere yet. Hopefully, we can build it up. But with that, I need your guys' support. Share these videos, smash the like button, leave comments. If you get a chance, try to share the video, subscribe if you're new here. Let's help the channel grow. One thing though I do have to worry about is if I get strikes here and I screw this channel up, I could lose my fishing channel as well, which really sucks because I like fishing. I love sharing stuff with you guys. But if I get too emotional and I say something the big tech overlords don't like, some nerd sitting in an office in Silicon Valley is going to get an alert because the algorithm or the computer picked up via the translation a few key words that I may have said. They review the video. Next thing you know, I got a strike. It's just utter bullshit. The left is most to blame for this right now. Like I said, I'm an independent. I believe Americans should all be Americans, and we should vote based upon our ideals, based upon the candidates, based on what they stand for, the ideas, and their track record for the ones who've already been in office. I'm sick of this Democrat Republican crap. I'm sick of the lies. I'm sick of the brainwashing. I'm sick of the craziness that's happened in the last 20 years. First, it started with gay marriage. Let two guys poke each other in the bedroom. Let two girls rub squids together. What does it matter to you if they're not hurting anybody? And then we say, well, next thing they're going to want to raise kids and this and that. Well, what's wrong with that? Better the kid have two gay dads than be in a foster home. And I kind of agree with that, right? But then next thing you know, you have teachers that are like, I want to share with my second grade students my sexual life. Like, look at when I was a kid, none of my teachers were like, oh, by the way, me and my wife, I put it in her tonight. Oh, this stands for this pride flag. This stands for guys putting things in other guys as bums. No, our teachers taught us about math and English and just numbers, shapes, and colors, especially kindergarten through fifth grade. So, like this Florida don't say gay bill, right? The nowhere in the law does it say you can't say gay. It just says you shouldn't be instructing kids about explicit sexual stuff between the ages of kindergarten and fourth grade. And that's right. And then if their kid does say something weird, like, come on, kids are weird. especially when they're younger. They got all these weird ideas. They don't know nothing. So the boy says, I want to be a girl. Why? Because he likes playing with dolls, because he likes playing with G.I. Joes or something. Now he wants to go play with Barbie and Ken. No, that doesn't mean he's a girl. That just means he wants to play with dolls, action figures, toys. He has an imagination. Great, let him. But and then if there is an issue, they don't want to be forced to tell the parents, because the parents might not agree with it and might say, well, kid, it's bad, you shouldn't be like this. If you can, you should be like this. Well, guess what? That's the parents' right to raise their children how they see fit. It is not your job as a teacher to talk about butt stuff with my children, especially K through fourth grade. And it's gone so far insane to the left, where, like I said, they're pushing abortion up to birth. They're pushing, in some states, abortion after birth. They're pushing open borders. They're pushing critical race theory. They're pushing teaching your kids that inherently they're evil if they're white, right? And they can't even understand facts correctly. They blame everything on white supremacy and on this anti-immigration culture. But yet, how come Asian Americans and Indian Americans from India, Pakistan, places like that are some of the most successful people in this country? Yet why the reason why certain black communities are doing bad, I've laid that out already. Some of it's their own fault, but a lot of it has to do with past actions and the way things are set up. There's some unfair shit for sure. But there's also, if you go to a community where there's barely any black people and it's just like a white community pretty much, there's still mad problems when the mayor's kid rapes a couple of girls. Okay, North Carolina, white boy rapes 3 separate girls and gets in absolutely no trouble, gets probation. Guess who his daddy was? His daddy was like the state attorney general prosecutor or something like that, big wig lawyer. But yet, if a little poor white kid from a trailer trash community did that, he'd be in jail for 10 years. So in communities where there's nothing but white people, there's still problems. It's class based. The rich people using their privilege over the poor people. And I knew, okay, a couple of my own life examples. I knew some police officers' children. And when we were teenagers, like if you got caught smoking or drinking, they'll hem your ass up, because you could drive at like 16, right? With a thing, with a learner's permit, you could drive at 17 by yourself, and then at 18 full on, right? So you got these kids that are 17, 18 years old, still in high school, last year seniors, that are drinking, driving, smoking pot, getting all fucked up. And then when the cops pull them over, they refuse to talk to anybody. They'll roll their window up. They'll call their dad, and they'll say, call my dad. My dad's officer, bloop de bloop. And then the cops show up. Nothing happens. Dad takes the kids home. There's no charges, gets swept under the rug. And you think these kids talk, like we all know, there's a small community. Merced used to be 36,000. Now it's about 100,000. But growing through all that, we all knew these kids, and we all knew when this crap happened. Yet if me or any of my friends got pulled over with an open container, smoking or drinking, we'd get ripped out of the car, thrown to the ground, maybe even hurt and roughed up a little bit, tossed into the juvenile or jail, and suffer the consequences big time. So there is privilege. It's just not always white. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's class based. It's the doctors, the lawyers, the congressmen. Come on, how many times you guys seen a YouTube video of some fat rich prick who gets pulled over speeding and doing some dumb shit? The cops pull him over, and it's like the county judge or the county or the senator, and then do you know who I am? That kind of crap happens all the time, and it's sickening. So it just, when you look at everything, like I said, got to get back to work. Thanks for watching the Funkin' CT. If you guys get a chance, share the video. I appreciate everybody coming on from my other channel and watching this. I'm hoping to grow this channel one day, because I honestly feel that I have a unique take on a lot of things that most people don't get to hear. And because of the fact that I'm independent, that I I'm not toot my own horn, but I'm pretty intelligent, and I try to fact check things legitly, like looking for facts and not opinions. I try to wade through the bullshit and find what is the for sure truth, and then what is objectable, what is opinion, what is maybe. Look at it from an outside perspective, because unless it's, I can't promise I would do that for me or my kids, right? I'm just being very honest. If there was a story and it was about my family or my children, would I be able to objectively look at it unbiased? Probably not. But being that I'm a mixed race, Native American white, I used to get bullied by the rich white kids in school. So do you think I have some kind of white power chip, or do you think I'm like a racist white supremacist Republican, far right? You're dead wrong. I've always supported marijuana legalization. I've always supported gay marriage, but I don't support like 50% of Disney's characters being gay. When gay people and lesbians and bisexuals and transgenders are less than like 3% of the world's population, why should they get 50% representation in movies and video games? Why is it that every movie has to have a gay character? Because not every household has a gay person in it. Not every community or gay guy in it, or a lesbo in it. Some do, some don't. So it should be the same thing. But if there's a video game that has no powerful women in it or no gay characters, the LGBTQ crowd comes out screaming hem and haw, racism, far right, this and that. And the right, the Republicans, you fools need to do a better job at combating and explaining your position than just be like, no, we're not. You know what I mean? It's like insane. It's so insane to see the world fall apart when it's so clear and obvious what's going on. It's so clear and obvious that we're being lied to, we're being manipulated. When you look at the right, and I talk about the old school right, I hate with a passion John McCain. And any senator, I've watched a couple senators go on Tim Pool's show and they'll say they disagree with him, but they respect him. Fuck you, man. Hell no. McCain is a piece of trash. George Bush is a piece of trash, right? The Iraq war, 9/11. Yes, I consider that an inside job. And if it wasn't an inside job, we knew about it and we let it happen, because I think we wanted to get our foot in the Middle East right after Iraq or 9/11 happens. There's so many videos of insiders from the Pentagon, from high up in the military, saying they already knew we were going to invade 7 countries. Well, all of the hijackers in 9/11 were Saudi Arabian. Yet we had no plans to mess with Saudi Arabia. We wanted to take on Yemen, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and a couple others. It was 7 of them. And we ended up taking Egypt, right? So we ended up taking Mubarak out of Egypt. We ended up getting Gaddafi. We ended up hunting him down and killing Gaddafi. We ended up hanging Saddam. We ended up causing all this violence and destruction in the Middle East over something that the Saudi Arabians supposedly did, right? All those hijackers were Saudi Arabian. None of them were Afghanistan, Pakistani, Iraqi. Yet we went into Iraq for weapons of mass destruction. Korea, North Korea has weapons of mass destruction. Why the hell did we invade Iraq and not North Korea? If you're a Republican, give me a straight answer, and I guarantee you it's going to be full of bullshit. If you really think you can give me a straight answer on that, that's because there's bad Republicans too. Look at the Democrat side. There used to be some good Democrats. Now they're all swamp creatures, twisted, sick individuals. Now I look at the Republican side. I think majority of them are the same thing. Mitch McConnell's a piece of crap. Lindsey Graham's a piece of crap. Dan Crenshaw seemed like he was good until that piece of crap voted to create a national vaccine registry to track who has and doesn't have the shot. So fuck you, Dan Crenshaw, you one-eyed bastard. You know, the people that I like, Ron DeSantis, freedom. Let people be what they're going to be. Ted Cruz, kind of a slime ball, flip-flop like a fish, like he's do what people want him to do and what he thinks his voters would like, but he still seems like a kind of good idea or a good guy. Now, the best politicians that have always supported Ron Paul and his son Rand Paul, two greatest politicians that we've seen in our lifetime, in my opinion. Um, and so I look at this and I'm frustrated as hell. The left is just cuckoo insane. The right's got some of their stuff together, but they refuse to punish their own. They refuse to kick out these good old boy bastards like Mitch McConnell. He's the equivalent to Nancy Pelosi. Lindsey Graham, he's the equivalent to Chuck Schumer, right? You got like John McCain, George Bush. These fools were the right version of AOC, Nancy Pelosi, and Adam Schiff and stuff like that, Cory Booker and Pete Buttigieg. These guys are all crooked scumbags on the left. And so is the right, a lot of it. Now, Rand Paul and Ron Paul I have immense respect for those two. And I'd have to say, based on what I've seen so far, Ron DeSantis seems really good. But anyways, politics aside, that's the point. We need to be able to look at the subject matter and avoid the gang mentality of whether it's the left or the right's fault, because it's all of our fault, man. We're in this together. And where do we go from here? So, like, for me, man, I feel depressed right now just thinking about this stuff. And I'm not trying to spread doom and gloom, because, like the title says, I feel like giving up, but at the same time, I sure as hell ain't, because I got 4 kids that look up to me. I care about my kids. I care about myself, and I do care about this country and everyone in it, whether decent people, right? I don't care about the scumbags, and even somewhat them I do, because I think as humans, a lot of us we're humans, man, and I feel for us. And some of us went the way that we went because of our cards that we were dealt in life. But here's the thing: you got 10 people all dealt a shitty hand. Some of them make really good lives out of those shitty hands, and they trade their cards and they go fish, right? They lay down, and then on the river they get hit, right? Or they make the right decisions. I'm using some card analogies, but they end up turning their lives around, or fighting out of the hole that they were placed in naturally at birth. We can't help whether you were born to a Rockefeller. You can't help if you were born to the Obamas. You can't help if you were born to the Jeffros, or to the hillbillies in the sticks, or in the hood, in the ghetto. You can't help if you were born in an immigrant predominant Mexican community. You can't help how you were born and what cards you were given, but you sure as hell can play those cards to the best of your ability and play life to succeed and win. And that's me right there. And I'm not going to give up. I want to show my kids not to give up. I want to show you guys not to give up, and everybody else. But it starts with communication. So I could literally sit down with someone that I despise, like AOC, I think is a piece of shit. But yet I could hold my tongue. I would be able to listen to her ideas, and then communicate and talk with her about what parts I think are good, what parts that I think are bad, and explain why I think what parts are good, and why what parts are bad. And then counter with my position and give her an opportunity to do the same thing. And if we speak to each other with respect, if we do a little just cursory digging and research, I think we would be able to understand each other's different viewpoints and where we're coming from life a lot better than if we just stand and we throw mud at each other and we call each other names, because that's what it's devolved. And I would like to remind everybody that united we stand and divided we fall. And at this point in our history, it seems like we're ready for World War III with Russia, China, with Korea, Iran, with all these other countries that are just do not like America. And then even our kind of allies like France, Canada, Australia, Britain, there's a lot of woke, crazy ideology in those countries as well, to where if stuff pops off, they might claim to be neutral. or not fight or get involved. So some of our friends that we think are friends may not be there. So the world is teetering on edge, let alone our country. We're damn near devolved into a civil war. We had a year and a half, almost 2 years of rioting and looting during a pandemic in which the politicians said it's okay for Black Lives Matter to burn cities down, to burn police stations down with police in it, to set fire to courtrooms and to beat people. And it's okay when Asian crime happens, and it's almost always a Black person beating an Asian up, pushing an Asian down, hitting an Asian, stabbing them, kicking them, hitting them. How come all these unprovoked attacks almost are usually Black on something else? Is this anger that the left wing media has created in the Black community over the last 20 years, to telling them that all of their problems are our fault or someone else's fault. All of the Black community's problems are the problem of the white man. So then what do you think when fast forward down the road, you've got instances of, like, in New York, or was it New Jersey? A suspect walked up to and stabbed a dude in the neck who was talking on FaceTime with his brother and killed him. Then ran off and proceeded to try to stab two more people. And now right now, nobody knows where he's at. This is a news story from this morning. And he's running about, and guess what? They have a crystal clear picture of him. And in the description, they say he's a 5 foot something male with a shirt that has marijuana leaves. They leave out the fact that he was Black. So you're supposed to be on the lookout for this big bad criminal, and we don't even know if it's an Asian. Is it a Mexican? Is it a Black dude? Is it a white dude? Is he tall or short? All we know, it's a 5'5" guy with a pot shirt. Oh, great, thanks. Narrow telling us that he's Black when only 12% of the community or the United States is Black, something like that. That rules out 88% of everyone. Now you can focus on Black dudes wearing the pot shirts that may meet his description, weight, height, and in those vicinities. Come on, it's common sense. But there's no common sense these days. It's insane. So again, I know this is a bit rambling. There's stuff all over the place because there's just so much to talk about. There's just so many news articles. There's so much. I could sit here and I could provide all the receipts, but the left, or if you're on the left, you're gonna hit this video and then maybe dislike it and be on your way, instead of actually listening to what I have to say. And then someone on the right may actually listen to the video until they get to the point where I say that Bush is an asshole, that I say 9/11 was an inside job. Then they tune me out. Next thing you know, you've got this small portion that actually listens. And I feel that's where the entire country's at right now. So share this, like this video, let other people know that the main problem right now is our lack of ability to communicate, for one. Two is our obvious biases in the media and news from both right and left wing, and our inability to simply read or see a story and just get the facts from it, and then extrapolate our own ideas and thoughts based on critical thinking. Critical thinking is down the toilet. They don't want us to think critical. They want us to think that the way they think. So whoever's in charge, this is the way we think, and you need to think the way we think, or you're the bad guy. You need to think that life begins at conception. So hence all abortion is wrong. You need to think that there's never a reason for aborting the baby to save the mother's life, right? If you're on the right. And to Matt Walsh, to the Daily Wire, I would like to say that I'm pro life, that I'm against abortion, but that yet I still believe that it should be legal and safe and rare. There should be rules and things set up. However, Matt Walsh to Tim Pool, he said, there's no reason a baby should be terminated to save the mother's life. And they always talk about, what if the mother has cancer? What if the mother has this or that? Well, let me bring one up to you. I personally know a friend who got his wife pregnant right after she had her tubes tied. They had them untied. They had a baby successfully. Awesome. And then they had a second one. And 6 months in, 6 or 7 months in, they find out that the baby is becoming cancerous, that the baby has cancer, that the baby is still alive, but yet is malformed, and is every day the cancer is spreading and it's starting to spread to the mother. And they needed to get that baby out of there before the mother would die. So to Matt Walsh, I say you're a freaking idiot. You're stupid. Because there are legit reasons. They're very rare. But for you to come out and say there's never a reason, that shows how stupid you are, how uneducated, and how un um let's just say how like you don't have any sympathy for others. You think you know it all when you don't. None of us know it all. Even if I think I've got it down and right, I know that I don't. And I'm open and willing to change my mind based on facts presented to me. But too many damn people on the right and left are lined up like gangs and refuse to listen to each other. It's asinine and it's insane. And as an independent, that would be my biggest wish for America, is for us to pull our head out of our asses, out of the sand, look up and find out what the hell is going on, and communicate with each other. And at the end of the day, by doing those simple things, even if we don't agree, we'll be more easily able to disagree, to agree to disagree. But when we have our heads buried in the sand, when we're ignorant, we're not going to want to hear what the other person has to say. We're la 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 with our heads in the sand till the train runs us over, right? So if you feel the same way, smash that like button, share this video, leave a comment below. I want to end this video with some positivity, with the fact that I don't think that I'm too unique. I think there's a lot of Americans and people that think the way that I do. I think there's a lot of Americans that are in that middle of the road, middle ground, that want peace, that want the country to get back on track, that want us to get along, that care about people genuinely, and have good ideas. And we need to put those people to the forefront. We need to learn to communicate, bridge the gaps, learn to understand each other, and also learn to live with each other even when we disagree. This radicalism on both sides needs to stop, and it's predominantly on the left. There are radicals on the right. However, there are a handful compared to right now. Almost the entirety of the Democrat Party are radicals. If you were to look at the Democrat Party stance now versus their stance 20 years ago, they have completely lost the plot. They have gone so far left that people that were hardcore Democrats in the 90s would be hardcore far right Republicans today if they maintained their views. Because Democrats would say in the 90s that we need legal immigration, that we need to have sympathy for the refugees and the people of the world. However, those same Democrats would say, however, America has limits. We can only allow so many people in. We need to enforce our borders. We need to have a strong border, and we need to have regulation and control. We need to know who's in the country. We need to know why. And they're willing to deport people, right? And they were for things like controversial stuff like let's allow medical marijuana, but they didn't have people shooting up crack and heroin in the streets with the free needles and people shitting and pissing on the sidewalks. They understood that was bad, that there was a line. Then Democrats, they wanted gay marriage, but they didn't want to have teachers teaching, or at least they didn't say this. They didn't want teachers teaching kindergartners about butt sex and about transgenderism. They, in the 1990s and 80s, would have told you there's only two genders, there's a man and a woman, and that transgender people are people that don't feel correct, like a gender dysmorphia. It's a mental disorder. However, if a man wants to live his wife as a woman, we should let him. But they wouldn't have said it's okay for that man to now woman and beat a woman in martial arts, or to beat women up in the MMA, or to beat women up in swimming and in sports. They wouldn't say it's okay for that man to go into a girl's locker room. They would have just said, allow him to gone from that slippery slope to they want your 6-year-old and 8-year-old daughters to watch penis swinging around in a freaking woman's bath or spa because there's a transgender that identifies as a female, and in the spa area, like at a gym where the men, if they've got a bath and showers and the men are walking around with their wangs hanging out and they're all men in there, right? And then you go to the women's and they're all women in their thing, right? Getting ready, getting in and out of the pool or showers and working out and all sweaty, come take their showers. They would have never been okay with a dude walking around with his penis swinging around in a female. Now they expect you to be okay with that. It has gone so far loony that they've lost the plot. And yes, the problems, in my opinion, are prominently on the left, but there's still plenty of them on the right. Again, I've made perfect examples of that. And I know I've bounced all over the place, but like this is very important and near to, and dear to my heart. I have kids that I care about. I want them to grow up as normal as can be, but I want them to be happy. If one of my kids turns lesbo, whatever, they do what they do. But I don't want my kids pushing, I wouldn't want my son walking around in the female locker room because he thinks he's a chick, right? And vice versa. I wouldn't want my girl, getting her breasts removed and then having surgery and grow a micro penis and then walk around like and get into MMA and get beat by Brock Lesnar because she thinks she's a man. There's some damn rules that are just common sense that we have just lost the plot, both the left and the right. And if you agree, if you feel like me, again, please like the video, share, let other people know. But yeah, my long-winded rant's over. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. If you're from my other channel, Common Sense Fishing, make sure you check that out. Hey, Danny's Kitchen, I suggest you go back, watch this video from the beginning if you get a chance. I think I made some good, valid points on both sides. I talk about a lot of different issues today. And those are all off the top of my head, just like boom, boom, rapid fire, all the crap that we're facing, from the energy crisis, going green, climate change, racial issues, the prison system. Everything is jacked up and screwed up on both sides of the aisle, right and left. But I do place most blame towards right now the far left and the left in general. However, the right has plenty of stuff to answer for, and I make that pretty obvious. There's a lot of issues I think we need to tackle. If you have children and you care about them, I think this video is for you. If you care about this country, I think I can give you talking points that other people are not discussing. So when you watch Ben Shapiro debate a lefty student, or you watch Matt Walsh talk to Tim Pool about this or that, I have a perspective, I believe, that's unique enough that most people are not bringing certain topics up, or they're not talking about certain things in those topics, certain categories. And I give them plenty of examples of that tonight. So appreciate you being on. Appreciate you, Danny's Kitchen. So like I said, if you get here late, I strongly recommend go back, watch this from the beginning, get a feel of what I'm talking about, how the world seems like it's going to hell in a handbag. And my main points are, so in conclusion for today's video, my main points are, we have to learn to think critically. We have to get rid of the bias. Twitter should be free to all. Trump should be back on. Alex Jones, Milo, they should all be back on, and let people spew bad things, and then you know how bad and mean they are, and you know not to associate with that. The freedom of speech is extremely important because light is the disinfectant to all. So when you have someone who's spouting views that are just extremely nasty and horrific, more people see that and they're like, ugh. They can either try to turn that person good or ostracize them, right? But when that person is not allowed to say their things, they're secretly spreading it, and they're like a cancer that is just festering, and it needs to be cleaned or dealt with, addressed, or cut out, right? So let people say what they're going to say and then debate the merits of that. I believe strongly in free speech. So again, the media biases, the tech giant companies, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We need to try to figure out how to make things more independent and neutral and not political. We also need to learn how to communicate with each other, whether you agree or disagree, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, an independent, whether you're black, white, rich or poor. We've got to be able to listen critically, understand each other, and communicate. So, and then the other thing is, last and importantly, I think that with the internet, with Facebook, YouTube, and with the age of the internet, we have instant news all around the world. So now problems that were always there are being magnified, and specifically by the media and companies and corporations. So if they're left leaning, they're magnifying problems to make it seem a certain way. They're right leaning, they're magnifying and focusing on certain problems. All this is doing is creating more divide. So, again, if we can neutralize how we make it neutral, not neutralize, but make the news more neutral and unbiased, if we can do all that, that'd be great. But the last point that I'd like to make is the need to unplug, because I watch so many of these videos. I see so much crap. I care about my kids. I care about my family. I care about America. I care about you. So I get all fired up and I have these opinions that I want to share with people. But at the end of the day, we got to realize there's this whole wide world out there beyond the internet, where on the internet, when someone says, the Green New Deal, my brother AOC, and I say, oh, she's a piece of shit, you're a lot less likely to say that that person's a piece of shit to their face. You're a lot less likely to call all white people racist to their face when you're dealing with the white person, right? You're a lot less likely to be as extreme and polarized when you're face to face. The wide world is out there. Have conversations, talk to friends, family about stuff, but don't get too political. Don't get too in the woods, in the weeds. Learn what facts are the most important. Hash out facts, not opinion. Share these types of videos with people so that it can reach more. But the other thing is, yeah, just the need to every once in a while unplug and live in the real world, because the internet world is not the real world. It is where the most opinionated, the most vocal people come. People that are trying to affect change, people that are trying to grift and just get money off of a certain subject, right? Grow their channel by doing this or that. People that are trying to cause trouble. The average Joe is not usually on the internet espousing his feelings about this or that. He could care less, or she could care less. And there's a lot more than people in the real world. We tend to get sucked into this. So if you watch too much news, too much YouTube, too much politics, you can find yourself in a position where I've kind of find myself the last 6 months, burned out, tired, depressed a little bit, not really knowing what to do, worried about, should I sell my house and move? How much I hate California's laws, but how much I love California as well. How much I love the fishing here, a lot of the people here, how I have a freaking company and a job that I've started here with a future that I could have here. All the positives and negatives, how they come swirling together like a tornado of thoughts in my mind, because I do care, because I am paying attention. There's just so much variables. It's like this ultra complicated, ultra, double quadratic, super calculus algebra problem that's just got so many damn variables that Albert Einstein couldn't figure it out, because there's just so much shit floating around right now, going around between what's happening in the world, what's happening in America, that it can be really hard sometimes to straighten it all out and get your head straight. And especially if you're a passionate person or you care, it's really easy to go down the rabbit hole. It's really easy to get worked up. So, again, long story short, we need to communicate, love each other, understand each other, a little more critical thinking, a little more holding your mouth before you speak. Think about the subject. And here's a big one: we need to listen with the intent to understand the other person. Then we can respond. But if we are listening for for things like, hey, I'm listening to this person, but I'm not really. I'm listening so that as soon as they're done, I can attack them or I can rebut them. And then when you're actually listening to them, you're simply listening for like weak points, lies, or bad things that you can attack instead of listening to them deeply and understanding where they're coming from, then digesting it and understanding it and critically thinking about it before you respond. I think that save a lot of headache and a lot of trouble. So, anyways, with that being said, thank you guys so much for joining today. Just a quick little live stream video I'm putting up. Hopefully, we can get this channel to reach a few more people. I hope you guys and gals like the content that I'm putting. And if you don't, I appreciate you being here anyways. That's part of the main point is I don't want to drive people away by having these intense opinions. But at the same time, I do have these intense opinions, but I want people to understand that we're all allowed to have our opinions, we're all allowed to disagree, and that if we treat each other with more respect and less disdain, and we actually listen to each other, even if you disagree with me, at the end of the day, you're more likely to leave this video or leave the conversation just a little bit more enlightened and a little probably less angry at the other side and understanding how they feel a little more. Even if you don't agree, you can maybe take away a few key points where you're like, hey, maybe they were right on that, but they're not right on this other stuff. And that just sets you up for success in life instead of failure with all this anger and depression. So hope you guys do good. I hope your guys' lives are blessed. And we'll see you guys soon again on this channel. Until then, I'm just trying to hang on like a hubcap in the fast lane. Thanks for watching Common Sense Talks. Don't forget, if you're one of my subscribers on Common Sense Fishing, today we're going to be having our giveaway. So I'm letting you guys know now. So our members giveaway is going to be happening on Common Sense Fishing tonight. And I've got a big thank you for my members. We've lost a few members. The channel has gained some subscribers. We're doing okay there. But, the members, you guys really help support the channel financially. I like to see it grow. So it sucks, when we make $50 a month some months, and other months we're making $100, $120 a month. Seems like it's going well. Last few months we've been slowing down a bit. So I really appreciate you guys, because right now I try to give you guys giveaways, tips and tricks, early access. I try to make the memberships worth it. And the bigger the channel gets, the more these memberships will be actually worth it. And also, I have plans, because there's different tiers of memberships. I have big plans on really making those tiers sensibly different, so that if you're a higher level member, you're getting better stuff, you're getting the best videos, best access, and the coolest stuff, right? And then so on and so forth. And it's a work in progress, but in the meantime, it's almost like a Patreon. It's that you like the channel, you like the content, and you're supporting me with just a couple bucks a month. And hey, you can get something, win stuff in the giveaways. There's some early access and stuff. But stick with us. If we can grow the channel, I really would love to do some cool things with members only stuff, and with the channel in general. I've got a lot of ideas, but I'm like this little guy in this box that feels trapped with all these wonderful ideas and things that I'd like to do, but executing them and implementing them can be very challenging when YouTube holds the key to the algorithm gods. So I rely on you guys. So if you guys share the video, let other people know, share it to your Facebook if you want, let people know, hey, this guy's talking about some cool stuff. Come check out my fishing channel. But anyways, thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week. We're going to be putting out more content on Common Sense Talks here. I'm going to be trying to cover much more news, media stuff, try to point out the biases on the lies in both sides. I'm going to try to come with more receipts. Make sure that I'm not only backing my opinion up with fact, but that I'm trying to make it easier for you to be able to discuss things with other people as well too, so that there's not as much fluff and there's just to the point facts. This is what's what. So we're working on it. Little tiny channel. We're growing very slowly, but we're getting there. So Thank you guys for your support very much, and we'll see you guys on the next one. So we'll most likely see most of you guys tonight at 5 o'clock, or sorry, 7 o'clock. So thanks for watching. You guys have a good one.